you've only got so many books that you can read, right? And there's millions of books out there. So one of the things that I always like to ask about too is how do you pick your books? Because it's funny, like so many people don't realize that it's not just reading. It's you have to be really, really careful because you don't want to waste time. You've only got so many books. My friend has a site called 2000books.com, and it's basically like the idea is that you're only going to maybe read 2000 books in your life. So those 2000 need to be really important. So how do you pick them? What criteria do you use? Do you have, what kind of way do you manage your list of books to read and whatnot?
So that really comes down to what I'm focused on at that moment. So I'm pretty much always reading a book about mindset. I think that's the most foundational thing in everyone's life. So I've always got something on the list that either has to do with the brain, mindset, things like extreme ownership, obstacles the way, always going through something like that. And then the other will be something that I'm trying to learn more about. So right now, the microbiome is huge for me. So I've been reading a lot around those topics. And I read in swarms. So instead of just reading one book on the topic, I might read 7, 8, 9, 10, all different authors so that I can get a bunch of different flavors so that I don't become somebody who's just repeating the bit of dogma that I get from one person. I'm hearing where all the different experts fall in the field, where they agree, where they disagree. And that also helps me really lay a foundation of understanding for that topic so I can begin to form my own opinions. And like the microbiome became important because my wife was suffering massively from digestive issues. It put our life on hold for an entire year. We spent the next year working with a slew of different doctors. They still couldn't solve the problem. And then I finally realized I'm just going to have to become an expert in this myself. And so, do you know somebody that's got even an inkling in that space? And in this particular instance, I happen to know somebody who's highly credible in the space. So I just asked him, like, what are the books I should be reading? He gave me 3. I started with those. Those led to other people. Honestly, I go see who's being followed on Instagram, like, for the subject that you care about. And then usually they have a book or they recommend books. And so then I'll start going through their list and picking the things that I think will be most usable in my life. And then every now and then I just chase a fascination. So I just finished this morning, in fact, the biography of Leonardo da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. And that was great. It wasn't earth shaking for me, but it was really fascinating to hear somebody like that. When we set out to do impact theory, it was going to be modeled or is modeled after Disney and how they built their empire. And so I read the biography of Disney. And so it's things like that. I'm trying to find things that have real world implication in my life right now.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I have a similar, I tend to group the books and I'll be thinking about something and I'll read like 5 or 6 books. I tend to call it, I've been thinking about this concept called book pairings, where I recommend people, like I was reading this book on called How Not to Die, but then there's another book called Obesity Code, and they're kind of conflicting messages, but it's like, it's so important. I think what you said was that you read multiple books, so you're not just parroting something that one, because it's so convincing when you read one person's argument, but if you don't have the other side of it, you just, you can just fall right into that and not realize that there's a just as convincing argument on the other side.